Hey guys, my name is Matthew. Recently, me and my family visited Switzerland, and we've been living in England for the last 4 months, so we thought we'd take the opportunity to just kind of notice some of the differences, the big general differences between being in Switzerland and being in the UK. And what did those differences kind of look like? What did it feel like? And tell you guys a little bit about them. Here we go. One of the first big differences you notice being in Switzerland is that driving rules are different. Of course, that's to be expected. They're very different countries. To start with, in Switzerland, they drive on the right-hand side of the road, and in the UK, we drive on the left-hand side of the road. That's a very simple difference. We also use the miles per hour system in the UK, and it's kilometers per hour in Switzerland like it is in the rest of Europe. The Autobahn is really cool. Of course, it's known for being in Germany, but parts of the Autobahn also go into Switzerland as well. It's cool because the speed limits are higher. You can really go a kind of long distance at pretty fast speeds, and so that's pretty cool. 130 kilometers per hour feels very fast when you're used to UK roads. Swiss roads are largely, depending on where you're going, if you're on the Autobahn though, they're very fast and very straight, and that's different than a lot of UK roads. If you are going to use the motorway in Switzerland though, there's a tax associated with that. It is 40 Swiss francs, and it lasts for the entire year. So whether you're there for just a couple days using it or you're there for an entire year, it costs 40 francs. Be aware of that because that's not chump change. That's a little bit of money. Another difference we noticed with driving, and this is something that you do need to be aware of, is as serious as the UK takes their pedestrian laws, Switzerland takes them even more seriously. We noticed people would stop if there was a pedestrian who was maybe even kind of thinking about going onto a zebra crossing or a crosswalk. And in the UK, I've noticed people are a little bit less serious about that rule. If there's a militia beacon, they tend to take it pretty seriously, but if it's a crosswalk or a zebra crossing that isn't lit up with the militia beacon, then they maybe don't care as much about the pedestrian. And in Switzerland, we notice people really do take the pedestrian laws very seriously. If they're on or even close to a pedestrian walk, they'll stop just in case. Another thing we noticed in Switzerland was that the mountains are for real. Obviously, the UK has some beautiful mountains. There are a lot of really gorgeous places to go hang out and spend time in the UK looking at gorgeous mountains if you're in Snowdonia or the Peak District or even the Lake District has got some beautiful mountains. But they're not the same as Swiss mountains. Swiss mountains are gorgeous. They're really, really high. They're so high that they have their own ecosystems that like clouds are nearly always below them, and it's really incredible. The mountains there are amazing. We did notice immediately when we got to Switzerland that the food was ridiculously expensive. We actually stopped at a Burger King in Switzerland just to pick up food pretty quickly, and it was something crazy. Like our meal, we just had 2 burgers and some fries and a coffee, and it cost us like 48 Swiss francs. It was absolutely ridiculous. We were astounded by how expensive food was. That was definitely the cheapest meal we had there, and it was incredibly expensive. We were just blown away by it. Of course, that makes sense because Switzerland is definitely more touristy than the UK is. Switzerland is known for its amazing summer retreats and its stunning snowboarding and skiing. It's an amazing place to go visit, and that's why so many people do go visit. Even though it's a very small country, it's very touristy because so many people go visit it, and that's part of why the expenses are so high. Maybe it's just because I've been so used to the overcast weather in the UK, but I was really struck by the difference in how sunny it was every day we were in Switzerland. It was beautiful and sunny, and even if it was really cold, the sun was out and the clouds were moving, and it was like, whoa, those are real clouds and not just constant overcast. In the UK, I feel like it, especially in the winter, it's just kind of overcast like pretty much every day. It's a 9 out of 10 chance that you've got an overcast day, and in Switzerland, it didn't seem that odd to people that the sun was out. We saw people who were very fit and clearly biked everywhere, and that all had a lot to do with the weather. The other thing that I'll say about Switzerland is that the people are different. In Switzerland, they have 4 national languages, which means a lot of people are multilingual, and they know more than just the languages of their country. For instance, when I was trying to pitter out some German while I was ordering food from a certain place, she was able to speak to me in English as well. And so it's very common for people to know a lot of languages, where in the UK, people don't tend to know as many languages. English is very common, and they may or may not know one other language, and they probably don't know it that well. It's very similar to the US in that way. People in Switzerland tend to be very healthy. Again, UK people tend to be healthier than US people in general, But Swiss people kind of bring that to another level. Everyone we saw was very healthy, and I don't think we saw a single person who was overweight at all. If we had seen one, I would have assumed that they were American. This we especially noticed while we were driving, but in general, people in Switzerland didn't tend to wave as often as people in the UK do. We noticed that people wave all the time in the UK, where you're letting someone through in traffic or just crossing in front of them and you're a pedestrian. People wave to say thank you and they give thumbs up and things like that, and it's very common. And we kind of missed it while we were in Switzerland. People just didn't tend to wave hardly at all. And it's something that we didn't know we were going to miss, but I think we're really going to miss it if we ever end up going somewhere else full time, because the wave is something that's really nice. We enjoyed our trip to Switzerland a lot. It was a lot of fun. And while we really enjoyed it, we also were really glad to be back in the UK as well. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed these differences at all, please feel free to give us a like and a subscribe. We put out new content every single week. Thanks, guys.